Hello photographers, today I'm going to show you an incredibly useful tool called the History Panel. It's located up in the upper right hand corner with this little arrow and the little steps thing. It kind of looks like you're going back in time, and that's what you do. If you can't find it there, or actually any panel for instance, what if you open your photo and you don't find the layers panel? All of those panels can be opened up under the window drop down menu. You can see all of these are actually individual panels. We don't see most of them usually, but history is one of them. So click on that and it'll sort of pop it out and show you where it is. Now what the history panel does is it records every change that you make since you open up the photograph. So I'm going to do a couple things so you can kind of see them appear. So I'm going to crop it really quick. It's the crop tool. Check mark to say yes. And don't worry about these steps here. I'm just wanting to show you an example, okay? I'm going to select a portion of this photo, make a copy of that layer, rotate it. Again, just sort of ignore me. I'm just sort of fooling around with things. But now let's go back to the history panel and look what happens. It showed the crop. It showed that I made a selection with the elliptical marquee. It showed that I copied it, and it showed that I transformed it. Now I can click on these and go back in time or forward in time. As long as I can see them here, I can actually go to any step in the process that I want. And that is very, very useful. There are some limitations though. If I save this photo and then open it up later at another date, all of that disappears. So it is just for the current session that you're in Photoshop. Also, it doesn't do this forever. I think it remembers 25 or 30 steps. So it's not like you can just like forever and ever make changes and changes and changes, but it remembers quite a bit. So definitely know that that's there. Take advantage of it. If you make a mistake, if you go off on the wrong path, if you get confused, you can always just click back in time and get back to you want. One other thing is if you click back on this one, the very first one, it brings you back to the very, very beginning. Sometimes I still am checking on this and clicking on these and it works, but sometimes that tends to disappear. Maybe that just depends on how many operations I've done or so on, but just be careful with that. The other thing I want to show you is if these panels get popped out and it's just sort of a little crazy or you can't find something, like I said, again, you could go to window and find that panel, but there's also something called workspace. Essentials is the one that we use most of the times, but you can actually click on reset essentials and see what that does. It pops everything back in place and makes it look just like you're used to. Okay, so to review, use the window menu to bring up different individual panels that you need, and use the workspace, reset essentials to reset your workspace and make it look like you're used to. Okay, you don't have to turn anything in for this Photoshop tutorial. It was just informational, but definitely store that away for future reference.